Community Highlights. Another local exclusive from Southeastern Michigan's news and information station, MonroeCountyRadio.com.
Welcome to Bobbing Around Monroe with host Bob Vergiel. Bobbing Around Monroe is a public affairs feature of Monroe County Radio and is brought to you by Jones for Men in the heart of downtown Monroe and Infinity Spa and Salon, located at 6000 North Monroe Street at the corner of Netto Road. Now, here's Bob Vergiel.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bobbing Around Monroe. Our weekly show is a lively look at the lives and times of people in Monroe County. And I'm your host, Bob Vergiel, and Bobbing Around Monroe is brought to you by Jones for Men in downtown Monroe. And Jones for Men is where all these Monroe High School kids get their tuxes before the prom. And my guest today would know all about those Monroe High School proms. Gwen Myers, who was a teacher at Monroe High School for 28 years and with Monroe Public Schools for 33 and just retired. It is so good to have you here today.
Thank you. It's good to be here and good to see you too.
Oh my gosh. When I worked for Monroe Public Schools, I would bet probably 2 or 3 times a year your classrooms would do stuff that I would bring the press in for. And the one that was really the signature event that you did was when you would get lawyers and judges and professional people like that, and they would be the Supreme Court, and you would have students who would argue cases before the Supreme Court. Tell us about that, because you put all of that together.
Yeah, I did. It actually started when I attended the United States Supreme Court Institute, where they select 75 to 80 teachers, social studies teachers from around the United States. And the year that I did it, it was 200 teachers that applied, and I was one of the lucky ones. So I spent a whole week there, and that's all we did was study the Supreme Court.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we actually had a reception with the Supreme Court justice that's retiring this year, a private reception. And we were there, to tell you how long ago this was, it was the day that Sandra Dale O'Connor announced her retirement from the bench.
Oh my gosh, she's been gone a long time.
Yeah, so that's when I was there. I was a young pup then. But that's when we were there, and we actually heard the arguments, and not the arguments because they had already made the decisions of the cases, which is coming up now for this court that's about to end for the summer. And I'm like, this is really cool stuff. And so I talked to my principal then. I said, can I put a class together, create a class called Mock Trials? And he said, sure. So it took me about 2 years to put everything together because, it has to be approved by the principal. Then it has to go before the school board, and then they make the decision, yay or nay. They were good with that. So long story short, these cases that the kids argued were actual cases that went before the United States Supreme Court. And that's all we did for 7 weeks is research. They had to research. They had to become those attorneys.
Sure.
They had to find out, well, who was Roe, who was Plessy, Brown versus, you name it, that's what they did.
Yeah, I think it was Plessy versus Ferguson. I think it was one of the ones I saw.
Yeah, Plessy versus Ferguson, Roe versus Wade, Brown versus Board of Education. It was so many of them. Miranda versus Arizona. And so we had former prosecutor Nichols, who is a judge now. He was one of our very first lawyers. And eventually, the program was so well received, we had nothing but lawyers. And so you have to think about this. These kids are juniors and seniors. I don't know if I could have done that as a 16, 17-year-old arguing my case before real lawyers.
Well, and lawyers are taking it, this is not just a 1-hour thing the day you brought them in. That was a whole day thing. These guys were, guys and women, were actually taking a whole day off of work.
Yes, they did. They took off and it was so great to see that because they believe in putting back in the community as well. And so that's what I would tell my kids, the least you can do is be ready. And don't embarrass me on top of that.
Well, and your kids were always dressed to the nines, too. I mean, the boys had suits and everything.
And the girls had to dress either in a business pantsuit or a dress. And they knew their stuff because the questions that they were throwing at them, they had to know the research.
Sure.
If they cited the Fourth Amendment, then one of the judges would say, well, what about the Fourth Amendment? Explain it. What does this have to do with your case? So those cases, when you came to see the mock trials, it was a beautiful thing to see. Our soon-to-be former superintendent, we did our last one with her a couple years ago, and she was blown away how the kids were so prepared with
Oh,
this.
I know.
So it's a great thing. And that's one of the downsides about leaving. There won't be, I don't know if anyone's going to put in what I put in creating that class, because it was such a passion for me.
And you also had the contacts after you do it once, and then
Yes.
everybody says, "Oh, hey, I want to be."
Judge
on your-
Vitale. Judge
Yeah.
Vitale. I love him. If you're listening, Judge, hi.
He married me about a year ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
He was so impressed with our kids. The wood shop, they made gavels for all of our judges. And we went over to the courthouse because I would take him over to the courthouse to actually see how the process goes.
Sure.
And he remembered us when he found out we were in the building. He brought us down there. They met the bailiffs, and he still had the gavel that our art class, our wood shop class made for him.
Yeah, he's Judge Vitale to you. He's Jack to me.
Okay.
But that's so typically Jack.
Yeah, so
typically
he
Jack.
said, well, let me know. He said, because right now we have lawyers that's fighting. They want to come because the class is only offered every other year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
'Cause
I do remember
it takes
that.
a lot of work to put that class together and get the kids ready, but it's worth it.
And I can tell just by the way you're talking, you're going to miss that, my friend.
I am. You know, the job is hard as
Mm-hmm.
an educator because I would say 99% of our job is great when you're just dealing with the kids. The other stuff, you leave it outside. Let me do my thing with my kids.
Sure.
I love that.
Yeah,
Especially
keep
when-
it outside that classroom door.
Right. You know, the politics, all this other stuff. You see me interact with my kids.
Yes, I have.
I love
Oh,
that.
and they love you too.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
And I am going to miss that, and that's going to be difficult for me because my last week, you know, I don't cry. I don't cry at all. I was down in my principal's office every day, the last week of school, every day in his office crying because it really got to me. It was so emotional that I'm not going to be here with them,
Right.
you know. And if I can add one more thing to that.
Sure.
With the situation in Texas with the abortion issue,
Mm-hmm.
a young lady that I had in semester 1, she sent me an email. Now, this is semester 2. She sent me an email. She said, Ms. Myers, I don't know if you remember me, but I was in your first semester, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And you said, even though we're kids, we still have rights and that we the people, because I told them the 3 most powerful words in a democracy are we the people.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you said that we the people have a right to petition the government. And I want to know what I can do. And I was like, oh, my job. That's my job.
Absolutely.
You know, I dug what she said.
Spur those young minds to think.
Exactly. Someone was listening,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And she and her mom, they went to the protest in Ann Arbor,
Okay.
came back, showed me pictures and everything. She said, I do have a voice. I do matter. I said, yes, you do.
Yes, you do. And when you become 18, you register to vote.
And see, and that was the biggest thing I told all my, even though I had 10th graders,
Mhm.
if you don't vote, you don't have a voice.
That's right. And don't. My dad used to say, if you don't vote, don't. Well, I won't use the word he, did, but it was
Right.
complain. Don't
Right.
complain.
You know, it's just like when you hit a pothole, did you vote? No. Well, you just hit a pothole. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not going to get anything done
Right.
with it.
So, yeah.
Gwen Myers, who just recently retired from Monroe High School, is our guest today. And I tell you what, ever since you said you'd come on this show, I have looked forward to this time to have you in here. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
We're going to hear from Jones for Men, and we'll be right back after this. Jones for Men, located in the heart of downtown Monroe at 10 East Front Street, is the ultimate stop for affordable quality men's clothing. Todd Jones has the experience and knowledge to dress you like no other. With on-site custom tailoring, Jones for Men will have you feeling as if the clothes were made for you. For casual, business wear, formal wear, tuxedo rentals, and accessories, stop in. Call 241-9444 or visit jonesformen.com. With an outstanding selection, Jones for Men, you can count on it. Back again we are with Gwen Myers, recently retired Monroe High School teacher. How many teachers retired at Monroe High this year?
We had 6. I actually brought you a newspaper.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
But that was your copy.
Okay, thank you.
But before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge Julie Odo's family. We lost her.
That was a very, very sad time.
Yes, and
Well, As a teacher, I know you've gone through a couple of traumatic times, and this is how you and I really got to know each other. It's when Mikey Ingram was killed in the service.
Yes.
Talk about that, because I know you and he were especially close.
That was, you know what, Bob, that was one of the most difficult times for me as a teacher. And it's hard to deal with any young person passing.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know when our young people put that uniform on,
it's a possibility.
It could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he came home to visit, and I was out in the hallway messing around, and I saw him come. Who was this coming down the hallway? And he had the cutest dimples, and he was telling me, you know, how hard basic training was, and he made it, and he was so proud.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent about an hour and a half with me that day. And he said, well, I'll see you later, Miss Myers. I'm like, yeah, I need you to be careful. And I never thought I would get that phone call.
Yeah.
And I never will forget, it was on a Sunday.
Was it? Okay.
And I knew it was a kid that I had in the past. Excuse me.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'll just say her first name, Tiffany. She called me, and she was screaming in the phone, just screaming in the phone. And I said, who is this? You know, I can't understand you. And she managed to get out Miss Myers. So I knew it was one of my former kids.
Right.
And then she screamed, she said, Mikey, and I knew. Michael was a character. I had him for 4 years.
4 years?
4 years. I had him as a student, academically, and then I had him for an assistant, and I couldn't get rid of him, and as an assistant again. And he was such a gentle soul, and we used to talk about so many things. And the worst part was going to his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm sure you've seen and been to a military funeral, and it's the saddest thing ever.
Yes.
I was okay till I got in and I saw his parents. That was the hardest thing. And
that's quite okay. You kind of knew this was going to happen when I told you before the show that I was going to ask you about him.
You know, even though it's been years, it's still hard.
Yeah.
He died defending this country. And I miss him. But if I had children, he would be the kid that I would want for a son.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was that good of a kid.
Yeah, even though he had this thing about Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson in class. I'm like, okay, sit down.
Oh no. Now you have to explain that, Gwen. You can't just say that and walk away.
You know, Michael used to, how should I say this? He wasn't annoying. But you know how kids will do things when your back is turned?
Oh, yeah.
And you hear this noise and you turn around like, who was that?
Trying to be the class clown? Is that?
He would just sit there and just smile. You know that high-pitched Michael Jackson used to make?
Uh-huh.
He would do that. And I would like, who was that?
And everybody sits there like,
and
they don't know what you're talking about.
One kid did rat him out and said, it was Michael. I said, what's your problem? He said, I don't know, Miss Myers. I don't know. You know.
But those are the kids you remember.
Yeah.
The kids you remember. And
yeah.
I bet the graduation ceremony this year was probably a little rough for you, too, knowing it's the last time.
That was hard, too, because it's a joyous time for our kids to graduate. But with Julie Odo, because her room, we were literally
Yes.
You know, where my room was, she was right behind me.
Yeah.
15 plus years. And I know she blasted me when I moved to C Wing. And to get that text that she was gone too, a simple medical procedure, and she's gone. And another teacher and we went to our principal. I love my principal. He's the best principal ever.
You're talking about Polizzi?
Yeah, he's just great. So I asked him, after talking to this other teacher, would be okay if the staff wore, because she loved Michigan.
Yeah.
So we did the ribbons and had an M on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we took it a step further, and we had a ribbon for the kids to wear on their gowns at graduation.
Oh.
So all the kids had the boys on their gowns. Theirs were blue, and the girls had the yellow ones on. And we got this huge poster, and with Julie on it, and everybody in our building signed it. And Steve presented it to the family at graduation.
Oh my gosh. Oh. My heart's beating faster just hearing you tell that.
Yeah, that was hard.
We're getting close to the end of our time together.
Already?
Oh, when two friends get together and chat, 15 minutes goes by so fast.
Okay.
You're leaving Monroe High School as kind of an end of an era because a lot of people don't realize you are the last black teacher on the staff, and now you've retired.
Exactly. I came here in 1994.
From Detroit, and you still live in Detroit, right?
Yes, that's home. And I was one of two black teachers at the high school, Bobby Wood, and they hired another young man about maybe 10 years later. Then we had layoffs, and he didn't come back because he got a job somewhere else.
Right.
So Bobby took another job, still in the district, eventually retiring as an assistant principal. So that left me as we were one or two. Then when Bobby went to the other school, that left me. And so when I left June 10th, there's no black teachers, none at the high school. That's it.
Well, you're going to be missed regardless.
Yeah,
and I tell you what, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and if something needs to be said, Gwen Myers says it.
That's true.
That's true. And
that's true.
Always go to bed knowing that that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I just try to live the way that I was raised, to treat everyone the way I want to be treated, because I've had some great kids, some wonderful parents, and it's not even about color. I've had some great kids.
Yeah.
Period. But it is my hopes that our district will hire some more teachers of color.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, Gwen, so great to see you again.
You too.
We did some really cool stuff.
Yes, we did.
At Monroe
Good
Public
times,
Schools.
Good
so
times.
Thank you very much, and thank you on behalf of all the students you send into this world that are so successful.
And they are.
In large part because of you.
Yes, they are.
Thank you, Gwen Myers.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank you, too, for joining us today for Bobbing Around Monroe, a service of Monroe County Radio sponsored by Jones for Men in downtown Monroe. Now, we'll be back next week, and we'll be joined by another interesting guest when once again we go Bobbing Around Monroe.
Bobbing Around Monroe with host Bobb Vergiel is a public affairs feature of Monroe County Radio and is sponsored by Jones for Men in the heart of downtown Monroe and Infinity Spa and Salon, located at 6000 North Monroe Street at the corner of Netto Road. You can listen every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. and Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. for another edition of Bobbing Around Monroe.